Hello and welcome back. In this one, I plan on covering websites and the Hello World program in a website form. What's the difference between a website or a web application and a regular application on your desktop? A regular application runs locally. It uses generally exe files and it reaches out to the internet for information. Well, it doesn't have to reach out, but it can reach out to the internet for information. Where a website is hosted on somebody else's computer and you actually use a vehicle or a tool to see that website. So, for instance, you can use the Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Safari, Mozilla Firefox. So the way that the website interacts with your server is to think of it this way: is to think of Google being way out here. Google is their server, and then we're over here using the Internet Explorer. We have to then we open the Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer will then make a call to Google, say a request, and then Google's response back to us. Let's call this RES. So Google's response back to us is then displayed on our computer, and then we take that response and we display it. So back to D. So display it. So essentially, we're calling Google saying, Google, give me your main page, right? The main page. And then Google says, okay, well, here's the code. Let's search. All right, let's send them back the code. We send back the HTML code, in this case HTML, whether it's 5, 1, whatever, ASPX. Either way, it's kind of HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, HTML. And that HTML language then comes back to the browser, and the browser parses the language to display your page for you. So in some instances, different things like the marquee tag, MARQUEE, the marquee tag, some browsers will know this and actually allow you to put text in here and do /marquee, right? Some browsers will know how to handle the marquee tag. Some browsers won't. So when we're programming, we got to take into consideration what browser is our users using to view our website. Very, very, very important that when we're developing applications, especially industry applications or business grade applications, that we're handling the code and we're adapting our website. To fit all the different browsers. One of the things that you can do is you can always go to W3 Schools. I think it's W3 Schools, and they'll tell you what HTML tags work for what browsers. So it's W3 Schools, I think it is. Check them out. They're a good reference for HTML and just how tags and basics on how to use a tag. There are definitely advanced techniques that you won't learn there, and some of the code that you get from W3 Schools may not work correctly or may be outdated. So just be careful. Use it as a reference, not as a fact. Okay, so now with this said right here, this actually simulates the way that a web page responds as well. So when we look at a web page, let's get rid of this over here. Sorry, I'm going to delete that. All right. So when we look at a web page and the way that a web page is processed, there is two different sets of code that we actually use. So now the server itself, let's grab this pen again. Now the server itself has all the server side, does all the server side stuff, and then the Internet Explorer takes care of all the client side stuff. So we'll call that client. Horrible. I'm using a mouse and it's not really working. So server, SERVER, perfect. Yeah. All right. So the server takes care of the server side code, and the client takes care of the client side stuff. So what is server side code? Server side code could be anything like VB, C#, C++, really any of the hardcore coding languages. And the client-side stuff is basically your HTML, your JavaScript, your JS, your CSS, K-style sheets. That's all client-side stuff. That is all stuff that'll handle that we pass over to the client, and the website will download those files into the Internet temporary files and run them on the Internet Explorer. So, as I said, when we come back with the response, the code response, we send back all the code in the response, and then we let the Internet Explorer save it to the hard drive and files, and then actually let you view those files as they're saved there. So, different things that we do on the client side. If we're taking a box, or in this case a circle, and we're taking it from here, and we're going to make the circle bigger, we don't need to call back to the server to say, "Hey, server, make this circle bigger," because the server doesn't care. The server that's taking a round trip. What we call a round trip is taking the time to go from the client to the server and then back. This is a round trip. We only make round trips in programming if we have to, because there is computational time, there's bandwidth, there's all kinds of different, there's internet lag that can cause it to slow down. And what we really want as programmers is we want to give the we want to give the client the best and easiest, fastest website that they possibly can get. So, with that said, we want to make as little round trips as we can. So that's why when we think about stuff and we think about how we're going to create a page, we define each thing as, each movement, each action as, do we have to go back to the server or not? If we don't have to go back to the server, let's do this on the JavaScript side. If we have to go back to the server because of security issues or really heavy computations that we don't want the client side to do, then let's go back to the server, have the server do the computations, and come back to us with code. So this right here, this process, handling stuff on the client side versus handling stuff on the server side, is all stuff that we're going to cover in these next few modules where we talk about website development. So with that said, let's go ahead and start off and get into making a website. So first thing we're going to do is going to open up our Visual Studio 2017 Community Edition. It's free. We're actually going to go, I'm going to make a web application because I like making web applications versus website. You can go new, make a website. But for me, I'm going to go new project. And I'm going to make an actual web application itself. We're going to call this Hello World, World App. So, actually make it web app, because Hello World App itself, I plan on doing an app for your phone. That's going to be pretty fun. Hello World App for your phone. So web app, now go ahead and create it. Boom, hit OK. And now what it's going to do is it's going to ask us, do we want to create a web form? Do we want MVC? Do we want web API? I'm going to do an empty one, but I'm going to also add the references from web forms because I plan on using different types of references from the actual web forms themselves. And so I'm going to add the core references, the folders and core references from web forms. You can add MVC or web API if you really want. You can add unit tests, which I'm not going to do because I don't really care about that. What I generally do is I set up two different places to publish to on my IIS. Is I set up a test folder and a live folder, and then I just publish to the test. And when I'm happy with that, then I just move to live. So I don't really have to worry about a test project. It's going to be the same thing no matter what. And using and if you use like a code solution base such as Team Foundation Server, then you can always back it up if you screw it up. So it's not anything big. All right, so empty web forms, okay, and let it build. Now it's going to build it for us. All right, so as this is building, it's creating all the classes. It's bringing in all the references to all the files that we need. And it's going to give us a very basic project over here with our references in here. The core, the data, the web, XML, analytics, which is, the analytics pieces. Okay, so we got the webconfig.ini. This right here, this file is very important. So no matter what, we got to be very careful with what we do in this file, because this is going to tell the web server how to handle our website. and what to use and what different stuff. So editing this webconfig.ini, I would not advise it if you're brand new to it. If you've worked with websites, what I would advise is backing up this file each time and then making a new change to it. And once you make that new change and you're happy with the new change, then go ahead and blow away the old file. But make sure that you back it up and you're happy with the change before you delete it. So, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually add a web form to it. So we're gonna go right-click on our application. Then we're gonna add, and then over here we're gonna add a web form. We're gonna call this default. We can call it default or index, whichever one we want. It doesn't matter. And by not giving it an extension, it automatically defaults in as ASPX. So we don't have to worry about doing .aspx in there, so just default. All right, and you can see what it did is it gave us our HTML code. We can use the designer itself to do a visual design type. Some people are really good with this, and some people really like the visual design idea. Me, I don't like it because it doesn't always look the way that I want it to in the browser. So this may look great here, but then you get to the browser and it's really all the styles and it just doesn't look good. So what I like to do is I like to use the source myself and do the source, and then from here. So what I'm going to do? Sorry, the cat was meowing outside, and my cats are going crazy. Anyhow, so what I'll do is I do the source here, and then every now and then I'll use the split screen here to source and show me what I want to do here. For handling buttons, I like to use the split screen and double click on the actual button itself, and that makes me just feel a little bit better. So what I do is one of the things I like to do is I don't like to use the div tags. People like to use div tags with CSS. I get rid of them, and I like to use tables personally, because tables will automatically adjust without me having to put 4 zillion lines of code in. If you like to use div tags, use div tags. If you like to use tables, use tables. It's no real big difference. It's not the end of the world if you use a div tag and you're not cooler than me because you use a div tag, so it doesn't matter. So in this case, we're going to just create a instead of creating a table, we're actually just going to put a label in here, and then we're going to name the label Hello World and run it. See how that works. So from the toolbox, just double click on label, and you see it just put it in there. And just like doing an application, whenever you click on a tag over here, the properties come up over here, and you can change all different properties. In this case right here, as you change a property over here, say we're going to change this to red, you'll see that it added red over here. Border color equals red. But I can also remove the HTML and then go down and then click off of it. And when I click back on it, you'll see that the border color is no longer red down here. So I can adjust the properties manually in here or adjust them using this piece right here. So what I'm going to do is I actually want to change the text to Hello World. And then that's it. That's pretty much putting a label in the middle of the screen and changing it to Hello World. So then what we're going to do is we're going to actually run the program. When we run it, just like an application, it builds and compiles it, and then it actually runs it for us. But the only difference between this right here is we get to choose which one we see it with. And this will show you a list of all the browsers that are installed on your computer. Right now I have Edge, I have Firefox, and I have Internet Explorer. Edge and Internet Explorer are two different things. Even though they're Microsoft products, Microsoft did the Internet Explorer 11, and then they realized that the Internet Explorer was way behind Mozilla Firefox and way behind Safari, way behind Google Chrome. So what they did was they came out with Microsoft Edge as their HTML5, more HTML5 compliant browser. It does look a lot better on Edge. I've been finding that that Edge is really the way to go. A lot more people have been using it. But if it looks good on Edge, more than likely it's going to look good on Internet Explorer. So if it looks good on Internet Explorer, it doesn't always look good on Edge. That's kind of the rule that I use. So I'll run it on Microsoft Edge. So go ahead and just click on that green arrow. What will happen is it's going to build it, and then it's going to send it over to an IIS Express edition, which will run the website on your local host. As you see, localhost 64042 default. and then you see that we have Hello World printed up in the top corner. So we used an ASPX. We just started a basic program, a basic web page, added a label, and then we built a file new, a basic web app, and then added a label to it and ran it, and that's what we saw was Hello World in Microsoft Edge. So that's pretty much the very, very basic how to start up and then just put a basic label on a page. So in the next video, we're going to go into more user input and different styles and techniques on how to adjust the label. So please watch the next video.